Hello and welcome. You are watching the Marblecast. If you watch Marble Sports and don't know who the Icy Hots are, that's okay. I'll introduce them and the league they're in. You don't need to have known them before today to appreciate their story. The Marble Simulation Franchise League is a simulated marble sports competition hosted on Discord by me. It was inspired by a previous competition hosted by Sman88. The participating teams use systems like drafting, a salary cap, and trading to build their team of marbles to compete in the events that make up each season. Each marble has 10 stats, potentially a trait, and an age. If you want to know more about that league, check out my previous couple videos. However, today's story is not about the MSFL. Today's story is about its spin-off circuit racing competition, the MSFC. The Marble Simulation Franchise Circuit is a circuit racing competition run by Fire Marble, yes, that Fire Marble, between seasons of the MSFL. Managers select 2 of their marbles to compete on circuit racing tracks built by the managers in Algodoo, a 2D marble racing simulator. Fire uses some of the marble's stats to create their attributes in Algodoo, so for this video I'll be simplifying the visuals like this by trimming out the stats that don't matter for MSFC. Today's story is about the first season of the MSFC. To keep the video short, I'll be introducing teams as they're mentioned during the season, so let's start with the 2 main teams in our story. This is Missing Titles. The Icy Hots roster for this season is the duo of Vertigo and Nova. Vertigo has been one of the top racers in the MSFL ever since Season 2, where they won Rookie of the Season with the team they were drafted by, Night Raid. Despite this achievement, Night Raid had other plans for their team and traded Vertigo away. After one more trade, Vertigo would find their home on the Icy Hots. They are joined by Nova, a marble that has also had 2 seasons of MSFL experience despite their lower age. This is Nova's first big opportunity for a breakout performance after being drafted late in the second round in the same draft as Vertigo, who was picked 9th overall. The Icy Hots are considered to be a pretty solid podium contender going into the season, but the title favorites look insurmountable. The Pantheon created a super team for MSFL Season 3. They acquired 2 of the greatest marbles the league has ever seen in trades during the season, and one of them was picked for MSFC. The legendary battle between the Pantheon's Icon and Team Fire's Alpha during the MSFL's first season was so good, I made a whole video about that season. However, Team Fire took a step back in Season 2, and a slow start in Season 3 was enough for them to move on. Alpha joined the Pantheon in a blockbuster trade, teaming up with his old rival Icon. The Pantheon couldn't overcome Starry Sky in the MSFL, mostly due to Blink, who has become an absolute superstar in her own right, but that's a story for another time. Even still, Icon and Alpha would be the duo expected to win the MSFC's first team championship, thanks to Starry Sky not having a decent second racer. Before we move on, here's your spoiler warning. If you would like to watch the season play out before watching this video, you can check out every race on the MSFC YouTube channel. Now, let's get into the season. The season's first race would be at the Iron Jungle. Both the Icy Hots and the Pantheon would start very poorly in the single lap time trial qualifying. Vertigo would end up in 7th, and Icon had a disaster lap from the final spot in the order and placed last out of the 12 racers. Neither of them would make the qualifying segment, a 2-lap race between the top 4 marbles. We did get some excitement in the final turns though.
Through the final sector for the final time in qualifying, Glaive and Hare. Hare gonna have a run here and makes the pass at the perfect time. What a move there. Hare wins pole. Glaive is gonna finish in 2nd for qualifying and Black Rose in 3rd.
So who was that? Hare is part of an older duo on the Camo Hiders alongside Jinx, who's a legend in their own right. Did I include this segment just to plug the Jinx video on this channel by Orsa, the Pantheon's manager? Maybe I did, but you should still watch that video. But outside of that big moment from Jinx and a few decent individual events from Hare, both of these marbles have been trending down and are representing a Camo Hiders team fresh off a rebrand that didn't accomplish much under their prior names. It's a promising start for them, but that form would not last. Hare would not convert pole position into a medal, and the team wouldn't secure any race podiums this season.
It's not gonna happen! Glaive wins!
Instead, it was the second place qualifier Glaive of the Moon Melodies who took race 1. The Moon Melodies, formerly known as the Moonwalkers, have been known as a good but not great team ever since the league's formation. Expectations were similar before the season for the duo, but their star Glaive had been showing signs of a breakout for a while, and Defiant has continued to play well, living up to their reputation as the first ever MSFL draft pick. As for the Icy Hots and Pantheon, Vertigo would stagnate in the mid-pack and finish in an alright 6th place, while Icon would make an impressive climb that was unfortunately mostly off-screen, from last place up to 5th to end the race. Moving on to the next race at the Detroit Derby, the racers swapped for every team. The rule is that for every 2 race set, each racer on the team has to play in one of them. So it is Nova and Alpha taking the stage for the Icy Hots and Pantheon. This time, Alpha was the one to qualify in the mid-pack, but Nova put on a show, setting the fastest lap time and converting it in the 2-lap race to secure pole position. However, both teams would lose spots on race day. Alpha dropped to 9th after getting the short end of a very close 4-marble group, and Nova dropped to 3rd in the back half of the last lap after 2 big mistakes. The Moon Melodies continued their fantastic start with Defiant Silver, and the winner of the race was a marble racing for Klaus called Bedlam.
Wake up call at the end there for Bedlam.
No, Fire, not Bedlam. Now let's take a look at the Klaus racers. Bedlam won the race and their teammate FOMO got last place in race 1. So you would think Bedlam is the veteran with 97 speed and not the rookie with a stat in the 70s, right? Nope, Bedlam is the rookie, and saying the win came out of absolutely nowhere is an understatement. Taking a look at the standings, the Icy Hots are in good shape while the Pantheon are struggling. If the Moon Melodies start to falter, the Icy Hots are in prime position to take over the season. The good news would continue for the Icy Hots in the next race at Circus Circuit, the home track of Klaus. Nova would race for the second straight GP and qualified in 5th. Icon bounced back with a pole position win, but lost it all during the race and fell all the way to 7th. While the Pantheon struggles continued, Nova snagged their second straight bronze medal. Glaive finished poorly for the Moon Melodies, letting the Icy Hots and the rest of the field catch up. The gold and silver went to Team Fire's Hawk and Wyvern Rumble's Black Rose, the latter of which has now also won 2 medals in their 2 races. Let's take a quick look at these teams. Team Fire is another veteran and youngster duo. Hawk has been on the team since the beginning of the league and proved he deserves his spot with this race win, bouncing back after a 12th place finish. Electra is the youngster looking for a potential breakout. She was one of the main pieces Team Fire got in the Alpha trade. She would end up showing promise during the season, but at this point she was not yet in her prime. Wyvern Rumble's duo is also a youngster and a veteran, but Zix just wasn't meant to be a circuit racer. Black Rose was the second overall pick in the Season 3 MSFL draft and had a disappointing first season. Expectations were mixed for them, even though Wyvern Rumble needed them to show their talent for the future. And that's exactly what Black Rose has been doing. They've got 2 medals in 2 races. Vertigo was back on the track for Tidal Glow Circuit and took pole position. The Pantheon do not look like a threat at this point, but on race day, Vertigo quickly dropped out of the top 2 as Defiant gained ground. Defiant took the lead in lap 8 and never gave it up, but Vertigo continued to battle.
They're still battling for second, but Defiant, the Moon Melodies, they don't believe in a host curse. Defiant, he'll crawl across the line and win a Tidal Glow Circuit. Who has second? Oh my goodness, Vertigo and Colt. Magnum will come home last. Here's the replay. I thought Colt was easily going to roll away with that second place, but he looks like, oh, he bounced it off the wall. That's what happened. Wow, incredible turn of events. Oh my goodness, side by side at the line. That is a 1 in a million finish, folks. You're not going to see that very often.
Wow. Colt is gonna get it.
In the end, Vertigo lost out on the silver medal and 2 points by 1,000th of a second. The Moon Melodies continued to hold the lead, but that was about to change. Icon was back in for GP5 at the Lair of Legends and grabbed his second pole position in a row. Vertigo qualified in 4th and would look to cut the Moon Melodies' lead with Glaive starting in 6th, and that's exactly what Vertigo did, gaining 3 spots in the final 4 laps to overtake Icon, FOMO, and Black Rose, and win the Icy Hots their first ever MSFC gold medal. This also marked their 4th race podium in a row, a fantastic hot streak. Icon once again could not convert pole position to even a podium finish, and with Glave's mediocre 7th place result, the Icy Hots took the championship lead. The Pantheon also finally snuck into the top half of the standings, but were still without a medal all season. But I think you know why I brought that up. Nova was back after 2 races off to try and defend their medal streak at Camo Camp, but it was Alpha who finally put together their first elite qualifying lap of the season. The top spot was stolen away by Tartarus of Iron Brotherhood, a team that desperately needed something to go right. The team had already been hit with the unluckiest moment of the season at Circus Circuit, as Tartarus's teammate Dart was battling for a podium spot during the last lap. Something happened off-screen that resulted in a DNF. Sadly, the bad fortune would continue for the Brotherhood. Tartarus quickly fell to 4th in the 2-lap race and never recovered, allowing Alpha to take the Pantheon's 3rd pole position of the season. Would they finally be able to convert on race day? Yes, they would. Alpha won a tough battle with Electra to secure, somehow, the season's first ever perfect weekend. Nova got 8th, but Defiant had a disaster of a race and placed last, meaning that the Icy Hots had the lead at the halfway mark by 8 points, while the Pantheon jumped into a tie for 3rd. The battle between our 2 main teams looked like it would continue at Electra Expressway, as Icon and Nova finished 1st and 2nd in Q1. They then both lost out on pole position to Glaive, proving the Moon Melodies were far from out of it. On race day, Icon immediately lost a bunch of spots in the Plinko simulator that was Electra Expressway in Season 1. Glaive also dropped a bit, and Nova held the lead for almost the first 6 laps, but it was the young star Bedlam who took the lead away. Nova would continue to lose spots for the rest of the race and finish 8th, while Icon climbed all the way back up to challenge the top spots, just to hit the attenuator in the last lap and drop to 9th, as Bedlam secured their 2nd win to put Klaus within 1 point of the still leading Icy Hots. Next up was Icy Mountain and Vertigo at the home track. This looked like the chance for the Icy Hots to take control back. Vertigo led off the qualifying laps and immediately got beat by 2.5 seconds by FOMO. Alpha only added to the problem by just beating out FOMO 2 runs later. Vertigo would end up qualifying in 10th, FOMO got 6th, and Alpha started in 3rd. That barely mattered to the latter 2 marbles, however, as they instantly jumped up the standings. By lap 4, Alpha and FOMO were 1st and 2nd. The 2 of them traded the lead back and forth for a while, but FOMO began to slip. FOMO would lose a couple more spots and barely hold on to 4th over a challenge from Hawk, but it was bad news for the hosts of the race. Alpha comfortably won the race and even lapped Vertigo right at the end. The standings were just as painful for the Icy Hots. Klaus were the new leaders, and the Pantheon had also passed them. It would be Alpha versus Vertigo again for GP9 at Shroudwater Bay. Alpha struggled in qualifying, but Vertigo and Bedlam both made Q2. Vertigo picked up a spot in the 2-lap race, but neither marble could take pole over Black Rose, who was looking for a bounce back after having their 3-race medal streak snapped at Electra Expressway. Let's see how this race started for Vertigo.
And we're rolling. Vertigo with a disastrous start falls all the way back through the field. Tried to dive to the bottom after the green flag dropped and lost out. Falls all the way back to dead last. Are you kidding me?
Yikes. And what was up with Alpha?
Jinx with a bit of trouble getting onto the belt, and look who is already moving up the field like they needed to. It's Alpha, but unable to get by Eclipse there. Now they do, moving up into 5th place, and now up into 4th, and now up into 3rd. Alpha, a marble on a mission through the first couple laps.
Yep, this was a disaster already for the Icy Hots. The top 3 basically stayed the same through the entire rest of the race, as Black Rose took the win. The Pantheon extended the gap, and Klaus added to their lead. Vertigo gained a couple spots to pick up 3 points, but it wasn't even enough to stay in the top 3, with just 3 races to go. Nova would have the next race for the Icy Hots, and even after Vertigo's very poor previous 2 races, Nova is still considered the lesser racer for the team. Celestial Crossroads was the track for GP10, and FOMO had a disastrous qualifying lap. Icon wasn't able to take advantage and ended up qualifying in 8th, but Nova made the transfer spots and began the race in the top 4. Nova jumped into 1st after lap 1 over pole sitter and hometown racer Blink. Lap after long lap passed as Nova continued to hold the lead. FOMO could only climb a couple spots and finish 9th, but Icon steadily made their way up the field to snag a podium spot. But against all odds, Nova held on for the win. These results threw the title race back into turmoil with just 2 races left. Klaus and the Pantheon tied at the top, with the Icy Hots just 3 back. The same 3 marbles were picked by the top 3 teams for the penultimate race at Sevsa Circuit, the home track of the Pantheon. Icon and FOMO were the first 2 qualifying laps, and Nova was 3rd to run. Nova was looking for the repeat win to close out their season, but this is where it would all go wrong.
Nova has begun, shaky out of the first turn. We've seen that from all 3 marbles that have gone so far, but Nova is considerably slower and now looks, again, a little bit fast coming out of the first sector, but is significantly slower than Icon, more than 2 seconds back, and nothing seems to be going right for Nova. Very shaky through the sand section, almost 4 seconds back already. Nova very slow through the final section. What will the final time be, though? 7 seconds back.
Nova would fall all the way down to last place in qualifying. FOMO also had a tough starting spot at 10th, but Icon made Q2 and placed 3rd. If the Icy Hots wanted any chance of winning the championship, Nova would have to make a crazy climb, but on race day, it was FOMO who quickly climbed into the top half instead. And to make matters even worse, Icon took the lead in lap 4 after back-to-back clean overtakes. The pole sitter, Hawk, would continue to challenge Icon for the rest of the race, but the story was set in stone. Icon won at their home track to all but clinch the title for the Pantheon. FOMO only managed 5th after being in the podium fight for most of the race, but Nova was unable to climb very far. They finished 9th, and as the standings flashed on screen, it was all but over for the Icy Hots. The gap was 15 points, the same amount of points as a gold medal. After considering tiebreakers, the Icy Hots would need gold, and could not afford for the Pantheon to score a single point, unless Vertigo got pole position worth 1 point in qualifying, which would give them 1 more placement of cushion. However, there's a reason this video exists. The story doesn't end here. The season's final race would be at Forest Park, the home track of the Shadowhunters. All eyes were on Alpha and Bedlam, as Klaus's Wonder Kid was the more likely racer to challenge for the team championship, and also only needed 10th place or better to win the individual championship. But as Vertigo's turn approached, hope began to come back.
Now up is Vertigo, the first of the 3 championship-eligible teams, the Icy Hots. Vertigo takes the inside of the split, just 4/10 back through the second sector, and looking quick here through the third. This is going to be close. Vertigo across the line. The vet steps up with a 28-7. They tied! Oh my goodness! Next up is Bedlam. Can the rookie phenom step up when it matters most? Purple through the first sector, trying to step up once again for Klaus. They have been almost untouchable when they're on this season. Purple through the second sector, across the line, and they take the top spot by a good margin, 27-8-2. Bedlam, they needed it, they got it.
Vertigo would have to beat Bedlam out in Q2, but they still needed Alpha to stumble.
Both of your championship competition just put together fantastic lap times. How will the time shake out? Not well at all! Alpha lost a 1.5 seconds in the first sector, trying to carry some more speed through the second half of the lap. Are you kidding me? What is going on? Alpha, 31.51. Oh my goodness, that's last. Are you kidding me?
And that's exactly what happened. Now, could Vertigo close out a crucial point?
But there is still a lot of work for them to do if they want to be champions.
Not even close. And Bedlam also losing spots helped out too, because Klaus were also certainly in this title race. Next up, the final race day to decide it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Forest Park for the final race of the MSFC. The Pantheon seemed to be in cruise control for the championship, but with Alpha qualifying back in dead last, things have gotten much more interesting. the 2 championship competition, Vertigo of the Icy Hots qualifying on pole, and Bedlam qualifying in 4th. If these results hold, the Icy Hots would do the unthinkable and win the championship by a single point over what would be a tie for second between the Pantheon and Kloss. But there's a long way to go. Are you ready? Marbles are in the blocks. The thumbs up from the pole sitter. Today it's Vertigo. And for the final time in the MSFC Season 1, we are rolling. Vertigo holds on to the lead through the first sector. Vertigo pulling away, and Alpha is off to a very bad start, but don't count out Bedlam. Don't forget about them. If they finish in 3rd or higher, the Icy Hots still cannot win the championship. Through the first sector, Bedlam losing another position there to Zoro. And Alpha is losing grip with Eclipse and Jinx for 11th and 10th spot.
Vertigo held the lead out of the gate. Bedlam was not climbing and in fact was falling back. Alpha was still stuck in last. The Icy Hots reached the halfway mark, still holding the championship. 6 laps out of 11 had passed. But then, time seemed to slow down. At the start of lap 7, Vertigo came off the belt close to the inside wall, coming up to the first half turn. This turn had never been much of a problem for Marbles unless there was collision between 2 or more. But something about Vertigo's rotation and the spot they hit the wall caused them to slow down drastically. Vertigo bounced towards the inside wall, and Tartarus had lots of speed on the outside.
And it's a 2 gap difference between Vertigo and Tartarus. That is very much surmountable. In fact, it's gone! Vertigo loses P1. Oh my goodness. Tartarus has taken the lead.
Vertigo would need that spot back, and the ending of lap 8 presented a chance.
Magnum pinches Vertigo forward. That completely stalls them out, but it gives Vertigo a chance, and they're side by side. But Tartarus gets the better jump off the belt.
The pass went wrong, but
it's going to take an incredible effort from Vertigo. Tartarus hits the attenuator in the first sector, though. That could give Vertigo some hope, but they do the same thing.
The gap stayed close. 1 lap to go.
Last chance through the second and third sectors. The final lap of the MSFC. Vertigo. I don't know if they're going to be close enough. They have momentum through the hairpin. Here we go. Last chance. Vertigo through the S's. Looks to the outside. Now to the inside. It's not going to happen. Tartarus wins. And Bedlam is not going to be enough. That means, despite every attempt at self-sabotage, Alpha is not going to be punished for this race. And the Pantheon are MSFC champions.
Every point the Icy Hots lost out on this season mattered. The Pantheon were crowned champions despite Alpha's last place finish. And for the icing on top, Tartarus also stole away the individual season bronze from Vertigo. Thank you for watching. You can watch the Icy Hots go for gold again and Vertigo's shot at redemption in new colors in Season 2, fully complete on the MSFC channel. Please check out this project. Fire Marble put a lot of work into it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you later.